making our snowflake today, and you can probably see that my paper is purple, which is not the correct color for a snowflake, but I wanted to make sure it's hard to see what I'm doing sometimes, especially if I'm cutting, because my table is white, and if I'm using white paper, that's kind of a problem. So the kind of paper you want today, you don't want your good drawing paper or sketchbook paper. We want thin paper. So a piece of notebook paper or a piece of printer paper works really well. First thing we need to do is we need to make our paper into a square. This side is kind of it's kind of yucky looking. It's kind of messed up. It looks like I got kind of faded. So I'm going to cut that up. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to cut anyways. All I'm doing is I'm just cutting off a rectangle so I pretty much have a square piece of paper. There are more precise ways to do this, but we're not going to worry about that today because we really don't need it to be perfect when we're cutting our snowflake. Now we have to fold. So let's start by folding it in half. We open it in half, we'll have two sections. Then we're going to fold it in half again. So right now we have a rectangle, we want to make it back into a square. So think about how many sections we'll have if we open it now. 4. And then finally, it's probably a little bit trickier, but we need to turn it so it's a rhombus or a diamond. And we're going to fold it, and we want the open part up and this point that's all folded down. We're going to fold it in half like a triangle. Now this is why you need thin paper, because it gets really hard to fold thick paper. This construction paper is kind of hard to fold. Now I'm actually going to be drawing on my paper before I cut. So I'm going to start by making a curve like this, so my snowflake isn't going to be a square. So I'm going to do that, and I can just cut that off. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's still going to be pretty even if it's not. Next, I just have like this ice cream cone shape, but we don't ever want to make a line that goes all the way across, because if you make a line that goes all the way across, you're going to lose a whole bunch of your snowflake. So I'm just making shapes on this side, and they don't go all the way across. So they can be kind of crazy shapes. You have a heart here. Something like this. You can cut out this top part too. So I just made a bunch of crazy shapes. You can copy me if you want, or you can make your own. Then we're gonna cut. This part gets a little tricky because we are cutting through a lot of layers of paper. Remember, we thought about it, and this would actually be 8 sheets. It's like cutting through 8 sheets at once. So this is another reason why we really need thin paper. I'm using construction paper, which is really too thick, but I also have art teacher scissors, so they're sharper. Just carefully cutting out my shapes. Really doesn't need to be perfect. Even if it's not perfect, it's going to be pretty cool. Blob. Right, ready for the moment of truth? Definitely the best part of this snowflake is unfolding it. You end up with something like this. So you end up with all these weird shapes, and the way they multiply on the lines that you folded them ends up really cool, and you end up with a really good snowflake. So I like to put snowflakes like this in the window because they really pick it up. So if you might have noticed, you've probably seen that I hang them in the cafeteria windows before if you go to Helen Arnold. And that's it. That's our snowflake.